Microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Please hang on. Please. This is an official interruption of your local entertainment transmission.
This is the Bob and Jeff Show, starring Bob Lutz.
You may know less about me than anyone.
That would be terrific. That would be great, huh?
Terrific. That was terrific.
Jeff Lutz.
Well, that's what you're talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
I mean, the only class in this act, and I'm here to tell you, this boy's soul is intact.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
We are back, hour number 2, the Bob and Jeff Show, KFH Radio. Let's get right to Coach Drew Dallas, Hutchinson Community College. They are 6-0, ranked number 1 in the country, and having an incredible season. Coach Dallas, we appreciate you taking some time today to talk to us.
Absolutely, Bob. Thanks for having me on, and excited about it.
You got Garden City coming to Gowan Stadium tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You've had a remarkable season. You've outscored your opponents so far, 267-48. Are you anything about this surprise you, Coach?
Well, you know, a little bit, just because we really were uncertain of what exactly we had with this football team. You know, there's a lot of turnover off the last year's team. We graduated 34 guys that went on to play Division I football. So there was a lot of spots to be had in fall camp, and not a whole lot of starting experience coming back with this football team. I think we had 2 kids that had any kind of starting experience, corner Jamar Mundy, and then our place kicker Cole Seagraves from right there in Mays. And really besides that, you know, the rest of our team was going to be new to those roles or new to our program. We felt like we had a really talented group coming into it, but you know, the challenge was going to be to just kind of get them all on the same page and making sure we were playing a quality brand of football. And up to this point, you know, I think they've done a really good job of that. You know, on top of the new faces playing, we had 2 new coordinators on each side of the ball. So Gary Salgado got promoted from our defensive line position last year to our defense coordinator position this year. And then Tony Coling, who was actually with Iowa Western last year as our offensive line coach, was hired as our offensive line coach and offensive coordinator over here. So there was a lot of new, you know, and a lot of uncertainty, but they've done a great job of coming together as a football team, and our staff's done an unbelievable job of getting those guys in good spots and having success.
When you have a team like last year's and you know that the guys behind them aren't getting the experience and that they'll go into a year like this with not much experience, how do you try to make sure not only that they're ready, but that they're prepared for when their opportunity comes and that they'll be successful when that opportunity comes?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you know, is just being on them every day about doing all the other stuff besides football right. You know, a lot of these guys that are here in our program, the football comes easy for them, you know, and they're very talented players. But, you know, really as a college football player to take the step in that next progression in your career is you've got to have everything else in line, you know, and that way when you come to practice every day, you're prepared and ready to go and you're focused on your assignment and your job. And so, you know, we really spend all offseason, you know, developing those guys, not only, you know, in the weight room, but off the field and in the academic side and how they're living life and those kind of things. That way when football does come around and they get those opportunities, you know, they can put the ultimate focus into that and into being successful, you know, on something they love to do.
Drew Dallas, our guest, head football coach at Hutchinson Community College. They did play for a national championship last year, so it's not like this is new. You finished 11-1 last year. You went up to Iowa Western on November 12th last season and beat them in an epic game, 29-28. 32 days later, you played them at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock for the National Junior College Championship and were beaten 31-0. I'm just curious, what do you think transpired in those 32 days? How have you been able to use that loss in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think, you know, we played them the last game of the regular season and went up there and played pretty well and found a way to win the ball game. And then, you know, we hosted a first-round playoff game against Coffeyville and had a big win there, you know, and I think going into the national championship game, we knew Iowa Western was a very, very talented football program. They're extremely well coached, and, you know, they had been in the national championship game the year prior. So they were extremely hungry. And, ultimately I think they just outplayed us on that night. And, we made some mistakes early in the game that kind of got us out of, our game plan and the things that we needed to do. And I think, looking back at it, we've been able to use that as a learning opportunity and kind of a rallying call for our team this year and in the off season to just kind of finish the job. And, hopefully, our focus all year has just been to, take it one game at a time, and make sure that we're just taking each step the way we need to and putting ourselves in good position to hopefully get back to it at the end of it. We talk a lot about not getting caught up in the results and focusing on the process and those kind of deals. And, very beginning of the year, we make a goal that, hey, we want to compete and win national championships. So, but really once we've had that meeting and that goal's been set, the work really comes in just on the daily process of going out and trying to be the best version of yourself each and every day. And I think each week and each opportunity, we've gotten on game days this fall, our guys really have taken it upon themselves to make a statement and continue to try to get better in certain areas with the hopes and, aspirations that if we continue to do those things, the end of the year, we're going to have another opportunity. But there's a lot of football left to be played to get back to that. And, and our sole focus has just got to be one game at a time and making sure we're doing the things that can get us there again.
So you're rushing for about a little over 260 yards a game. How much of that is just a product of being ahead big in most of the games? How much of that is by design? And in a time where it seems like running backs, even in Division I and obviously in the NFL, are being a little bit devalued, what do you think people are missing about why that way of playing can still work really well?
Well, I think you've always got to have that physical aspect to you, as an offense and a defense, and really feel like, a lot of the keys to winning football games is being able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And so we put a big time emphasis on it, offensively, being able to run the ball early on in the game and over the course of the game, wear those guys out. And then same thing on the defensive side, just flipping the script, making sure we're eliminating people's run game. And, I think there's, as a coach, if you can win in those two areas, you got a great opportunity to win the ball game. And, I think a lot of our rushing attack right now is in part because we're doing some good things schematically and our staff's putting guys in good situations, but we've got some great players toting the rock and we got a really good group of running backs that are unselfish and they get after it and they get the extra yards. Our offensive line's playing really well right now. They're rotating a lot of bodies through there. And then we've got some quarterbacks that can move a little bit. And that's been, is an aspect of our offense that we have not had over the last couple of years. And Samari Collier, our quarterback right now, has really taken us to another level with, his running ability. So having a dual threat guy is probably part of that, rushing attack, but also just having a group of running backs in the backfield that run extremely hard, take advantage of their opportunities when they get the ball and are running with a purpose. And then, of course, if you're able to get up on a team and continue to run the football, and control the line of scrimmage, you got a great chance of closing these games out. And I think we've seen that this year out of our guys.
Talking football with Hutchinson Community College head coach Drew Dallas, 6-0. Got Garden City at home tomorrow, 1 o'clock at Gowan Stadium. So, yeah, you're running the ball very effectively, 263 yards per game. You got a bunch of different guys who contribute, but one kind of stands out, Tyrell Reed Jr., a freshman out of Lawrence High School, 11 touchdowns. He's averaging 8.1 yards per carry. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Yeah, Tyrell is a very, very explosive athlete. He was a kid that we tracked for a long time in high school, at Highland Park and then at Lawrence High his senior year. He was a guy that had legitimate track and field times. He was a 10,500-meter kid. And so you kind of knew that, he had the speed and the explosion to be very successful. And then, getting here and getting to know him as a person really, I think, is where he's taken that next step. I mean, he is an unbelievable worker. He's always got a good attitude to him, smile on his face, runs extremely hard. His vision's good and his balance is even better. And, he's a squatty-body kid that can roll, and I think defenses just have a hard time bringing him down on initial contact because he runs so dang hard. And then when he breaks away and gets an open space, I mean, he can make you pay in a hurry. So he's a really, really good tailback. He's got all the tools to be elite at any level. And Perez in the recruiting process, it was easy to see why you liked him and, what he could do with the ball in his hands and those kind of things. So he's a great kid, and so I'm glad he's a Blue Dragon for sure.
You got time for one more question, Coach? Because Jeff thinks he's got the $1 million one.
I don't know if it's the $1 million one.
Yep. Let's throw it at me and see what you got.
I was just curious, because you haven't played many competitive games, what practices are like, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how guys are kind of ready when it's their turn. So how competitive do practices get?
They do get pretty competitive, and we like to think that, when we're going against each other on offense, defense, that those are some of the best reps we're going to see, all season long, and make it competitive to a standpoint that we're flying around and we're playing fast, but we're also keeping each other up and keeping each other healthy, knowing that that's one of the most important parts in the whole deal. But just give you a quick example, going into a bye week, played Dodge City, going into the bye week, our first Tuesday practice, we got 2 weeks before we play our next game, and we have a couple red shirts on the squad, and they go out there and gave them about 15 reps to just kind of play and have fun. And one of our receivers made an unbelievable catch in the end zone, one-hander, would have been an ESPN, top 10 play without a doubt. And just the excitement that our guys had for him, I go back and watch it on film, and offense, defense together, sprinting off the sideline and dabbing them up and doing those kind of things. And I think, when we talk about practice, I think that was a great example in our program of how our guys approach the game. I've never questioned this team about how much they love playing. And so I think when we get the opportunity to practice, we look at it as an opportunity to get better. And our guys really enjoy playing the game. They enjoy being around each other. They work extremely hard. And so, I think that's where that competition level comes in. And our hope is always to practice so well against each other that game days feel easy to a certain extent, but I think that more than anything, this team loves playing the game of football, and we're being rewarded because of that.
All right, very good stuff. Drew Dallas, head football coach at Hutchinson. The Blue Dragons at home tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Gowan Stadium against Garden City. Coach Dallas, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. You have a good weekend.
Thanks,
right,
you too.
There you go. That's a impressive football program that he's built.
So it's very good.
At Hutch. I've always felt like Hutch should be the dominant program in the Jayhawk. They have the best facilities. Now, somebody might argue with me on that. There are other very nice facilities, including right over at El Dorado.
Yeah.
But Gowan Stadium is an excellent football facility. The sports arena is a great basketball facility, especially since they put some money into those places.
Right.
And tomorrow, if I lived in Hutch, I'm there.
We're proud of the kids over there. That's fun when you have a local-ish team ranked number one in anything.
Right. Took a heck of an effort to get him on the radio.
It did?
I've
had a pretty easy time getting him on.
Really? I don't ever recall you getting him on.
I've gotten him on before.
I don't recall it.
Yeah, because you weren't on the show.
He seemed like he didn't even know you.
Well, Steve Martin sure did.
Does it bother you when people do that? Because I don't think you sound like me.
Do I? I don't think our voices are that similar at all, really.
Yeah,
I mean, our inflection is similar.
Why do people constantly? My theory is that they're just, they want to be asked questions by me. So even if
I think I'm a little underestimated. When it's a good question, they assume it's you. They should now realize by now, 8 years into this, that most of the good questions are coming from this side of the desk.
Well, I don't think they do realize it because there's not that many good questions.
Oh yeah.
That last question was, okay.
It was a pretty good question,
nice question,
and it got a good answer, so we're all good.
So we're told that the situation that necessitated the move of the West-South game tonight, somebody drove onto the field at South High School and left a bunch of skid marks and did damage to their turf, to which I say I hope they have the license plate number.
I think it was a stolen car.
Well, I don't care what it was. How'd they get in?
Don't know.
They run through a fence?
I guess.
I need more details.
That seems like a huge waste of time.
Wichita Public Schools says a vehicle. I'm reading from one of the TV Twitter feeds.
Which one?
Says a vehicle got onto South High's football field, making it unplayable for tonight's homecoming game against West. The game is at Goddard's Eisenhower, but the band won't be there.
How did you
South
read
High
that while
band.
you were scrolling through?
I had to make it bigger so I could see it.
Oh, okay.
Good job by this news organization.
Well, we appreciate it.
In getting us the news.
Well, that's us.
It wasn't you, but
Really?
Well, not the one I read.
Well,
I'm sure you've had it out there.
Of course.
In fact, I could go look for your version of that, and
we're on
make sure
top of
that
things
you're
like that.
and make sure that you are getting that kind of news.
You know, we reached out to the spokesperson for the school district. We sent a photographer out there. You know, a lot of things happened yesterday. A lot of things happened, and it was fun.
Let's see here. Still nothing about it on the Twitter feed for.
Really? You sure about that?
KWCH. But I'm sure they're working on a more extensive.
Absolutely, as we usually do.
Story. They probably don't like me talking about them, do they?
I don't know that they're
You
listening.
know I love them. KWCH has been the standard bearer in this market for many, many years.
4 decades or so.
Yeah. Cake had a run. Cake still kind of mixing it up with you. To some
You'd be
degree.
surprised.
Well, I don't, they're still trying to mix it up. But I worked for the news leader in town for many years because we just had overwhelming manpower, and we could do stories. And that does not mean that you all didn't do a great job.
We still do.
Well, I'm not saying you don't. I'm happy that you're proud. That makes me happy.
Who in the community is more identifiable as a news person than Michael Schwenke? And I'm asking legitimately. You think Deb Ferris? Maybe.
Well, longevity, Jeff Herndon to some degree.
Denise
Neal, Carrie Ringers, Dion Leffler would get the nods from the Eagle with Chance Swaim moving up, but they need more. They just don't have enough.
Yeah.
I'd
put Denise and Michael right up at the top.
And then your weather,
you call them out there.
And then
sometimes Schwenke.
And then your weather, you've got Ross
Jansen,
and you've got Lisa Teachman, and you've got Jay Prater. 1, 2, what order would you put them in?
Ross, number 1. I'm not gonna put anybody else.
And then your sports, I don't even know who's in sports at any place anymore.
TJ and Brandon. That's our team, and that's the best team.
Well, there you go.
I don't know what Cake's doing. Sully's good. Sully's good. We like Sully.
You're in a fantasy league with him.
Sully Ingalls, yes.
Well, there you go. Who's winning your media fantasy league?
Fantasy football, I think it's Hendo is winning. I threw all my chips into basketball, and my basketball team is just off the charts insane. So hopefully I win that one.
Well, I hope so. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk some more high school football. We are footballed up today. Joanna Chadwick, our all-the-time Friday guest, as we break down some high school football. Next week, we'll be talking playoff football in the state of Kansas. Tonight, the final week of the regular season, and Joanna will tell us all about it next.
40 KFH.
It's I, Me, Mine week with our music. Max Power picking it out. The Blues Brothers. I don't know. I can't wait for the last song of the week. You know what it is. Joanna Chadwick with us from Vype magazine. Also the journalism instructor at Derby High School. It's October 20th. I have not yet been invited to speak to the 21st century journalism class.
I think there's still an opening for the 19th century journalism class, though, Joanna.
Well, I will say that next semester, Bob, I do add a 21st century class in the morning. So that might work better with your schedule because otherwise it runs right in the middle of your show.
Mornings are wonderful. So we'll await that invitation and the accompanying fee that comes with it.
Sounds good.
Let's talk. Boy, I'm on a roll today.
Yeah.
Let's talk some high school football. We had Steve Martin on the show earlier from Wichita Northwest. They have Manhattan tonight. A big game for a lot of reasons. Northwest probably wants to feel like they can go into the playoffs and feel like they can beat Manhattan, don't they?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that it is an incredibly tough opponent to end your regular season with. And I think that this is probably a game that Northwest has been looking for, especially after that loss to East and how that ended. I would imagine that is one fiery bunch of guys. And I don't know. I mean, I don't see any reason why Northwest can't win this game. And frankly, with the way that the seeding currently is, this is a really, really important game with Washburn Rural being unbeaten. And you've got Manhattan, Derby, Free State, and Northwest all sitting with one loss. It's an important game.
Absolutely. What about my friends over at Wichita East? I love when the school, not really out of nowhere, but sort of unexpected, and not year in, year out basis. But East, they only lost by one to Washburn Rural. Their other loss was to Cape, and they beat Northwest. Would you be surprised if they made it to the state championship game?
Oh, you are talking so far down the line. I mean,
really.
That's all that matters.
I can't even wrap my mind around getting past the second round of the playoffs because I, of course, consider the first game I consider the ninth game to be the first game of the playoffs. And I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time imagining picking a team at this point when everybody is sitting there with just one loss. And East is sitting there. They've got two losses to quality opponents. And I can't make that decision right now. But I will say that Washburn Rural pushed Derby last year. And Washburn Rural brought back basically everybody. They're going to be incredibly tough to deal with.
Agreed. Joanna Chadwick, our guest from Vype magazine. So we've got some other interesting games in the area. Right up near the top of the list is Eisenhower playing against crosstown foe Goddard. Both teams have had very, very good years, especially Eisenhower, which has never done anything like this in football. They have a chance to cap off an undefeated regular season. How do you look at this game?
Well, I tell you, with these crosstown rival type games, I think it really throws the predictions into the really tough area. And I'm going to go with Eisenhower with the win here. I don't think it matters where the game is being played. But I have been watching this team all season. When they got that 7-3 win, to start the season, it was like, okay, this is a different sort of a team. And I think that even just to take us back one step, because I didn't really talk about East losing to Washburn Rural by just 1 point in that game, I think that's also one of those things where this is a team that we have to keep an eye on. And so for Eisenhower to be able to go through unscathed, that says a lot about this team, because that is not easy to do. But the fact is that Goddard is also a quality team. There's good coaching staffs on both sides. I think it's going to be one that will be very interesting to watch. I don't foresee it as a blowout. I would imagine it would be a pretty close game.
So we haven't yet talked about Andale and Cheney last week. Cheney pulling off, I guess, an upset, probably an upset on the last play of the game in overtime. Does that make Cheney the 3A favorite? And here's a question. Did you know that Andale has never won a state championship with a loss?
That is, the funny thing is when you said, did you know, it all of a sudden hit me. Because when they won those two under Gary O'Hare, I think they were back-to-back and they were unbeaten. Wow, that is an excellent note there. Well done, Jeff.
Isn't that amazing?
That is
Hendo gave him that.
No, I got that from Dylan Schmidt, but it's the same.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm in awe of it. I love it. Okay, so here's my thing with calling that an upset is that, first of all, you have to call it an upset, even though we all looked at Cheney as a formidable opponent. You have to call it. Annandale had the nation's longest winning streak. It has to be called an upset. And then to come back from down 22-0, that's craziness. Cheney really did a lot of really good things in that game, and there's no doubt that Annandale had some key mistakes. So I would be very interested in these two teams meeting up down the line. That's a game that I think that they should move. Move it to some place where we can get a whole lot of fans in, because it's going to be a heck of a game. And I think it'd be hard to bet one way or another, because I don't want to bet against Annandale. They'd be coming back after losing to Cheney and seeing that end. I think that'd be incredible. But I don't know. I just can't call that an upset. I mean, I can call it an upset.
The problem now in our area, there's not very many venues where you could move that game to get a huge crowd, because they've torn down the east side of the stands at Cessna Stadium. I don't think they're going to play any football there. So I don't know where you'd move it. Where would you move that game, Joanna?
It's a really good question. My question, though, is how many seats, how many people can fit into Annandale and Cheney? How many people can fit into those stadiums versus even saying, okay, what if we played it at Derby on a Thursday night?
Well, that'd be something. Joanna Chadwick, our guest. So you go out to the northwest here, west of where we're sitting right now. You've got Wichita Northwest, a very, very good team. You've got Maize South, a very, very good team. You've got Annandale. You've got Garden Plain, Cheney, Kingman. I mean, it's amazing. And we've talked about this for quite some time, about why high school football is so dominant in that not very big area of Kansas. What's the best theory? And by the way, Kingman plays Garden Plain tonight, and what should be a heck of a game.
God, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, like what? I don't know. I mean, we've seen this happen, with Northwest Maize, Bishop Carroll facing each other, in the playoffs in those back-to-back games, and how tough it is to get to the 5A state championship from the west side. I don't have an answer for that. Well done on your coaches. Okay, maybe these kids are playing in some excellent junior football leagues that are based on the west side. But I don't know. Things tend to move around a little bit. I mean, because it seems to me that the east side has had its strength as well, and Capon, you think of all the years that Capon has been really good on the east side, but it is a pocket of just excellent football and excellent coaches. So much success over there, and it's really fun to watch. It's fun to see Garden Plain too, is to kind of pop back up as a team. We used to talk about Garden Plain all the time, and they've had a few rough years, and so it's been fun watching them. They've also been able to recover from a early season loss and to be able to turn that around. They've got a really good record as well.
All right, good stuff. We always appreciate you. Have a good night tonight. We'll follow you on Twitter to get updates and scores, and we thank you for your attention to that.
Joanna, who you like between Sabetha and Nemaha Central tonight?
Hey, it's so good to talk to you guys. You guys are my favorite people at the radio station. Bye.
No doubt. Thank you. She didn't even want to go there.
She didn't. It's a big one, though.
Why do you do that?
I don't know.
Joanna's a prized guest. We don't want to offend her.
Who do you like? I'm going to take Nemaha Central.
Well, they've got Probably, I don't know. I have no clue. They're
I don't
1
really
and 2,
either.
aren't they?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Aren't they ranked 1 and 2?
Yes.
In 2A?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good game, but we don't care here. Will Polite joins us, the director of Diversity and Inclusion and Equity for Wichita School District 259. Dr. Polite, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you, Bob. Happy to be here.
So we're gonna. Here's a little ditty we play before we get into 5 questions.
Okay.
There you go. So the question that would come immediately to my mind is, you probably thought you reached the apex of your career coaching Jeff in freshman basketball.
Probably.
How'd you take it to an even higher level?
Well, sometimes you just need a good platform to build on.
I love that answer.
Between Jeff and the teammates we had on that team, man, that was a great platform that launched me into the world of that I live in now. So,
we must have won 3 or 4 games, right, Coach?
Oh yeah, man. Well, we really won more than our record said. We just kind of lost a lot of them at the last minute there. So, but Jeff was my hot. He was my hot shot there, though. Oh yeah.
Gotta love that. Who is the most famous person in your contacts on your phone?
Probably Barry Sanders.
Wow,
that's a good one.
It's on my phone. I'd have to say Barry Sanders. Maybe Lynette Woodard. If you're thinking through a sports lens there, but those 2 would probably be the top 2 on my phone right now. Yeah.
Well, I don't have Barry, but I do have Lynette, and I have trouble getting her to respond. So maybe you can help me with that one of these days.
I can help you out there.
Will Polite, our guest for 5 questions. So tell us a little bit about your job with 259, what it entails. You've also been a great sounding board for me as we've taken down the road to League 42 and some of the things we're trying to do there. But just kind of give us a description of your current duties, Dr. Polite.
Well, sure. Would love to. Actually, my role is actually called the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Accountability, which is just a little bit different than DEI. But our main purpose in this role, Bob and Jeff, is to really help close some of those gaps with some of our underrepresented groups of students, whether it's getting more underrepresented groups into like AP courses and IB programming, into these great Wichita Public Schools. I'm also a product of Wichita Public Schools, and it's an honor to be able to come back and work in this space. But I really believe in Wichita Public Schools, a kid can really become anything they want to become. But sometimes it's getting those kids and those families connected to all the great opportunities that Wichita Public Schools has to offer. And that's a challenge at times for many of our students of poverty, and some who are immigrants, and those who might not have access to all the information on an ongoing basis. And so that's a big part of the work of equity. When you think of equity, it's really access and opportunity and support into that access and opportunity. And that's what we really try to focus on, is making sure all of our students have access and opportunity, and then the support into those opportunities that Wichita Public Schools has to offer.
I'll let Jeff, but Jeff has a question, but it just seems to me you defined what your job is, and you said part of it is accountability. It seems like there's more of a lack of accountability than there ever has been. Is that a challenge?
It is. And that's something that we kind of a shared role. We don't, as a department, don't take that on our own, or but it's a shared role to make sure that we're being accountable to our clients are our families, and those students that we serve. And so just making sure that we are doing all that we can to make sure that all of our students are future ready, and that's the task. So it's not an easy job, it's not an easy task, but it's one that we must continue to work on.
So, I know you've done a lot in your life and in your career. I don't know if you expected to end up back in Wichita, but as you look back at everything that you have done and all the places that you have been, does it kind of make sense that you ended up back in Wichita and in this role? Can you kind of see how all that led back to here?
Man, that's a great question there. That's a great question. So first of all, no, I hadn't planned on coming back to Wichita, Jeff. In all honesty, being transparent, I had not planned on being back home. But as you know, my mom I've talked about her quite a bit. She's 98 years old. And you guys know my brother, Darren, as we call him, D-Force, number one Shocker fan. And so I moved back when Mom got sick, and I'd always promised Darren if something happened with Mom that I would make sure I took care of him. And when I moved back, he said, you know what, I don't want to move. I want to stay in the house we're in. I don't want to leave Wichita. And I said, you know what, Darren, we're going to stay here, man. And it was a blessing in disguise, man, because I am happy to be back home. And all the experience that I've gathered across the nation. My last stop was in Chicago for about 8 years there, and then St. Louis before that, and Milwaukee before that, and spent the majority of my adult life in Atlanta, where I went to school there at Morehouse College and started my educational career. But the culmination of all that experience that I've been able to do across the nation and working in different environments, and to be able to bring it back to my hometown has been great. And I'll tell you guys, it's been awesome just from a sense of actually being in those different school districts and to come back and to realize, wait a minute, we have a very special school district here. Not perfect in any sense of the word, but the opportunities that we offer here, really, I would put our district up against anyone across the nation. I really would. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. I've just been able to get inside and really take a look at all the great things that Wichita has to offer to our students and our families.
Dr. Will Polite with us from USD 259, and I don't know, I don't want to sound like I know that much, but it just feels like to me, Dr. Polite, that there is a positive momentum with 259 right now. Do you concur?
Yeah, I do. Once again, I'll never deny that we have our challenges, of course, like any other school district, urban or rural. But I think Dr. Thompson set a good tone for us moving forward, Dr. Alicia Thompson. And then with our new superintendent, Kelly Bielefeld, very excited about his leadership now as we move forward. But you're right, though, Bob. There is a lot of good momentum that's taking place right now in our school district. A lot of work to do, but I think we're headed in the right direction and with the right leadership here in place. And I'm excited to be a part of it, man. I really am. And if I wouldn't, I'd be gone, to be honest. But I am excited to be a part of this momentum that's taking place here in my hometown. So
there you go.
It's
all
a
right,
great
it's
thing.
Time. We ask that you ask us a question. It can be for both of us or separately, whatever you want to do. Did you think of a good one?
Okay, well, let me see here. I'd like to ask, really, Bob, so coming to you, and I've been a part of the League 42 Educational Committee here for the last few years, and just how are you looking, how are we feeling about our new initiative with the Rudd Center there and all that's taking place there at the McAdams facility?
I'm very high on our educators, Chitra Harris and Nathan Anderson. I think they're going to be very, very good. We are still in the formative stages of trying to figure all this out and how it's going to work long term and getting into that routine. And I'm always nervous about things like that until they actually happen. We're starting something called the Passion Project tomorrow with a guest speaker to talk to kids specifically about passion and its importance in development and just in life. And then we're doing stuff with law enforcement and first responders and financial literacy stuff. So it's all going to come together, but it's all just kind of out there right now. So it'll take shape over time.
All right. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate people like you who are in your circle who provide me assistance, for sure.
Yes, and I want to continue to have that to grow. And then my last question, of course, is for Jeff. Jeff, so it's a double question here. How does it feel working with your dad, and did you ever think you'd be working with your dad on a daily basis?
I actively pursued opposite opportunities away from Bob, but he just kept pulling me back in. So here we are together, and we've mostly made it work here for the last 8 years.
Man, that's
in other words,
thing.
He got declined.
I love it, gentlemen. Anytime I can be a part of your conversation, guys, please, I'd love to be. So.
You're one of the best, and we always appreciate you and love being around you, and thanks for doing this today.
You bet, guys. You bet. All right. Looking forward to some dinner sometime soon.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Dr.
All right,
William
guys.
Polite from the school district. Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Accountability for USD 259, and a guy we go way back with.
No doubt. He's awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him when he was your coach. He went away. Didn't know much about him for a number of years. He got back in town. He's working with the same kind of young people that we're trying to work with. So our paths cross, and I'm all the better for that. All right, we have come to the end of the week. We will be back here Monday with the three-man booth. We'll be in the studio on that day with Jason Duda, Max, Tom Thurber, yours truly, and Jeff. Have a great weekend, everyone. We will see you in a couple days.
Selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
As easy as pie?
Sure. All you have to do is enter your license plate or VIN.
As easy as a stroll in the park.
Okay, then just answer a few questions and you'll get a real offer in seconds.
As easy as singing.
Why not? Schedule a pickup or drop-off and Carvana will pay you that amount right on the spot.
As easy as playing guitar.
Actually, I find that kind of difficult. But selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
Can be.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get an instant offer today.